Hi everyone, and welcome to episode 6 in this NextJS series. In this one, we're going to tackle some very interesting topics. By the end of this episode, you will have learned how to always fetch the most recent data using server-side rendering, implement the getServerSideProps function, optimize loading time of external images, as well as improve the website appearance using CSS. I'm going to build upon the code from last episode, so if you want to follow along, be sure to clone the episode 5 branch. Server-side rendering, or SSR for short, is a form of pre-rendering. It's very similar to static site generation, the only difference being that instead of fetching data only once at build time, the data is fetched on every refresh of the page. This is useful when you need the most recent data to be shown on the page. The downside of using SSR compared to SSG is that page load time increases and is no longer instant. To fetch data using server-side rendering, the getServerSideProps function is used. The skeleton of this function looks like this. Since this function is executed when someone requests a page, we can access extra information about the request parameters. That information is contained in the context parameter. Similar to getStaticProps, the getServerSideProps also returns an object with the props property. Let's go back to our project and implement server-side rendering on the home component. As always, let's open up VS Code. I'm going to use the getServerSideProps function in order to fetch the most popular movies and display them on the home page. Open the index.tsx file and scroll down to the getStaticProps function. If you remember from last episode, we've already implemented the functionality of fetching the most popular movies, the only problem being that they are fetched only at build time. As we all know, the list of popular movies changes frequently in real life. Therefore, it will be nice to always display the most recent information when we load the homepage. SSR allows us to do exactly that. Let's refactor the pre-rendering method to be server-side rendering instead of static site generation for this component. It's quite simple, the only thing we have to change is the name of the function and its interface. Now, when we build the application for production, the most recent information will be fetched on the home component. By doing this, a new problem arises. What if the list of popular movies updates, but we haven't statically generated the page for that movie? In a previous episode, we've seen that if the movie ID wasn't present in the getStaticPaths function, then a 404 page would be displayed. We don't want to show a 404 page for the new popular movies that appear. NextJS comes with a very handy solution for this exact problem, the fallback property inside of the getStaticPaths function. If fallback is set to false, then any page with an ID that isn't present in the paths property will return a 404 page. If fallback is set to blocking, then any page with an ID that isn't present in the getStaticPaths property will statically generate that page when it is requested for the first time, cache it for future requests, and add its ID to the paths. This is exactly what we need. Let's go back to the project and open the id.tsx file where we have the getStaticPaths function. Here, let's set the fallback property to blocking. Awesome, now the website is a lot more dynamic. From now on, we'll only improve the website appearance. Let's begin by displaying the image of the movie after we click on it. The MovieDB API allows us to fetch the image of a particular movie. By reading the docs, we see that the movie images are stored at this URL. The poster path is a property that is present on each movie when we fetch them. Let's begin by adding this property to the movie props interface. Go to types.ts and add it there. Back in the id.tsx file, let's import the image component. And above the title, display the movie image. Let's run the app in development mode to see what happens. Open the browser and click on any movie ID. An error appears, and this is because by default, NextJS doesn't know how to optimize images coming from external sources. We can fix this error by going to the next.config.js file and adding a new property named images that contains the domains of possible sources for the external images. In our case, that will be image.tmdb.org. Let's run the app again, and now, when we click on a movie, everything works correctly and the image is displayed. Let's add some CSS to improve the page appearance and some other enhancements. This is the desired result of how the movie page should look. We have a landscape image of the movie, its description, as well as the year it was released, its length, and its genres. There's also a button to go back to the home page. Awesome, let's start implementing it. First off, go to the styles folder and open global.css. Here, let's add some global styles for the background, text color, and font family. After that, let's create a new CSS file named movie.module.css and import it in the id.tsx file. In this file, we'll put styles specific to the movie page. Let's open it and insert the following styles. You can find these styles in the GitHub repository for this episode or just pause and copy them. Aside from these styles, let's also get more information from the API itself. Go to the types.ts file and add the following properties to the movie props type: backdrop path, overview, genres, and runtime. In order to keep the code clean, I'm going to create another type just for the genres. Now we have everything we need to improve the movie page. Go inside the id.tsx file and inside the movie component, add the following 3 variables. The first will be for the movie genres, and for this one, be sure to import the genre type. The second for the release year, and the last for the movie duration in hours and minutes. Now, let's get to the render function itself. First, give the root div a class of container. Then, change the title of the page to match the movie title. Next, move the div containing the movie title and put it right under the link component. Inside of it, enclose the text with an h2 tag. Under the div containing the movie title, insert the following structure. Here we have 2 containers. One is called primary and will contain the movie image and description, while the other is the secondary container, which will contain the movie release year, duration, and genres. Inside of the primary container, insert a new div with the class of poster container. Inside of it, move the current image and remove the height and width properties. Instead, add a new property named layout and assign it the value of fill. This will make the image fill the entire space occupied by the parent component. Also, be sure to change the image src to be backdrop path instead of poster path. The difference being that backdrop path gives us a landscape image instead of a portrait one. Under the poster container, let's add the movie description, which is contained in the overview property. Lastly, let's move the secondary container and add the release year, movie duration, and genres. Awesome, those were all the improvements I wanted to add in. Let's build the app for production and run it. Let's open the first movie page, and there it is. Everything works perfectly. You may notice that the first time you enter in a movie, the image takes some time to load, which is normal. After the first time, it will be cached and it will load instantly. We can verify this by going back to the homepage and clicking on the first movie again. As you can see, the image loaded instantly. The next episode will improve the appearance of the homepage, we'll talk about layouts in NextJS, and we'll deploy the app using Vercel. See you there.